70-something games that he has speedran before on SRC, so I dare you to check out his profile and just see how many of those games on that list you actually recognize and have heard of.
Yeah, Auth definitely just jumps around, bounces around from game to game, and he generally tends to do really well in all the games he plays too. So I think his experience in speedrunning in general just kind of carries over as he continues to pick up new games.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that learning one speed game can, usually teach you something about another speed game as well. And I think that's especially true of this game. I'm really happy that this was the first game that I actually picked up to speedrun, because I feel like it has just taught me about so much about the process of learning a speedrun and actually practicing it and trying to get better. But this race is officially kicked off here. We'll talk a little bit more about these runners as they make their way through the escape segment here, which doesn't really have a ton going on. So we talked a little bit about authorblues already, but Jet has been speedrunning this game about a year, speedrunning in general for about a year as well. Mostly a rando player, but also plays some Super Metroid from time to time. So Super Metroid, another classic speedrun on the Super Nintendo. Excellent game, highly recommended. Have you ever played Super Metroid, Deebs? I don't think I've ever seen you play it.
Oh, I've definitely played the game. Great game. Haven't ever tried speedrunning it, but I've played through it a couple times. It's really fun.
This is how little there is going on in Escape. We just want to talk about other games.
Yeah, we'd rather talk about Super Metroid instead of Escape. Yeah. Don't worry, we'll get to the good stuff soon. But
yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, well, I don't know. There's not much going on. Sometimes the green guards just decide to get in your way, and you just have to do your best to juke, jive, bob, weave around them. There's only a couple rooms. This one coming up that they're all entering now is one of them. Just making sure you kill that guard quickly and in the best spot to pick up the key just to walk right through the door. The other big rooms in Escape that we focus on are the boomerang key guard, which will be a few rooms from now, and then the ball and chain key guard. But otherwise, it's just reacting to RNG, trying to move optimally, and just making your way over to the sanctuary.
Yep. We'll talk about a little bit more about our runners in the bottom race here. Screevo, who's a fellow tournament administrator along with myself and a few other people. As I mentioned, does have a sub 130 with a 128 time. He's been running this game for about 2.5 years. We started kind of around the same time, I feel like, and so we were kind of competing with each other for a while in our times as we kind of got a little bit better at NMG. So I've definitely known Screevo for almost all of my ALTTP speedrunning career, so it's been cool to learn this game alongside him and see his progression in this game. He apparently also speedran SimCity for the SNES after ACM found some new strats, and haven't done anything else since then, but I know he's interested in other speed games. Definitely plays a lot of other categories of ALTTP, including glitch categories, which I know he never thought he was capable of, but I promise you, if Screevo can do it, you too can do it.
Yeah, I agree with that statement, not just because, it's Screevo, but I was also felt that the glitch categories were pretty daunting, and there are a couple glitch tutorials out there of just how to do the glitches in general, and they're really not horrible. Sometimes you get these weird states where it's hard to keep track of things, but for the most part, doing the clips themselves and keeping track of where you are is not really that bad.
For sure. And then our last runner over here, we have Nickynoel. Is a German speedrunner that comes to us from the powerhouse of Germany in ALTTP. They're taking over. Speedrunning for a total of almost 4 years, but has really only been playing this game for about 2 months now, so to be around the 2-hour mark already is pretty impressive. She does play a lot of other RPGs. I checked out her SRC profile a little bit earlier and noticed a ton of Final Fantasy on there. Lots of Final Fantasy games, lots of really good times in those, it looked like, as well. So really cool to see runners of all walks and varieties of games and experience participating in this tournament.
Right, and I think we've seen a trend with the within the tournament that the people that are coming from the buckets with the higher times or the lower seeded buckets, we tend to see a lot of PBs out of them, because there's a big learning curve to this game, and you once you start getting the hang of things, you see where the time save is and everything. So definitely watch out for a PB from Nicky.
Yep, absolutely. We've seen something like, I want to say 24, 25 PBs in tournament races alone. Plenty more probably outside of that, just people practicing and running on their own, getting PBs out there. So I know the leaderboards are getting crushed with submissions, and that's pretty much exactly the way we like to see it. So it's great to see so many people playing this game and enjoying it. Some of the things that are a little less enjoyable that you just saw there was the Northwest Key Rat, that a few of our runners, I think I saw at least 2 of them get. It is the worst RNG you can get in that room. You're not going to lose a ton of time to it, but it's especially frustrating when you throw the boomerang at it and you think you've got it, but you just come away with nothing.
Yeah, the Northwest Key Rat is a point of frustration, especially for the top runners. If you're having a good segment and you get there, then you feel like your segment's ruined if you get Northwest Key Rat. If you're having a bad segment and you get there, then you're just like, oh my goodness, this couldn't go any worse. So
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it's pretty uncommon, but when it does happen, no matter what the situation is, it just is infuriating.
So everybody is relatively even here. Screevo with a little bit of a lead, it looks like. Jet just right behind, and then authorblues is very close as well. It looks like he tried to talk to the priest again instead of grabbing the sand cart. Just wanted to get a little more information on the religion itself and seeing what their tenets are, and maybe got a pamphlet or something the second time he talked to him. I'm not really sure, but interesting strats there. But everyone grabbing the Sanctuary Heart here, and going to be heading to Eastern.
Yep, and Eastern again, very movement-based, just a lot of enemies that can move randomly. These Octoroks are the bane of my existence, personally. They move very quickly in random directions and shoot very quick projectiles, so just trying to be mindful of all of them at once on these different screens can be pretty frustrating.
Yeah, to clarify a question in chat, there are 4 racers here, but there are 2 races going on officially for the tournament. That's not to say, we can't necessarily have any unofficial races going on from, diagonally or top to bottom or anything like that. So that's kind of one of the fun things to always watch with these quads is, even if the tournament matchup necessarily isn't the closest, the other ones may potentially be, but regardless of how close runners are or aren't, you do get to see a really wide variety of strats applied to each of these rooms, and that's always really cool to see side by side.
Yeah, the quads really do a lot for the competition of the races, and just allow for more scenarios to compare and contrast. But going back to the game in general as a speed game, it is an old game, and it is a 2-dimensional top-down game. So you would think that it wouldn't be as technical or crazy as something new, but there's a lot of very, very intricate parts or aspects of the movement and of different tricks and how different elements of the game interact with each other. So if you want to play this game at a very, very high level, it takes a very long time of studying and practicing and trying different things to actually understand everything that the movement has to offer and understand how to get from room to room optimally.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Ooh, nice strat coming out from Screevo there with the diagonal boomerang throw before you actually get to the pot and pick up the key so that he can just actually immediately turn around and start walking around and still grab the key with the boomerang. Pretty recent discovery, actually. Someone originally tried a strat where they were just throwing the boomerang directly towards the pot in a straight line and grabbing the key that way before picking it up, but I think it was Josh RTA who came up with a slight variation of that strat to throw it diagonally to grab it a little bit faster. I do believe it's, as far as we know, the most optimal strat for that room now. Jet sitting at 1 heart here. Auth is at 1.5. Screevo as well at 1.5 after taking some intentional damage there to get the big key earlier than intended. Screevo's sitting at 1 heart now as well. You need to keep an eye on him as he goes through this room, because if he gets touched by these Igors, he is dead. Alright, so he gets through there safely. Jet's attempt now, killing off these Popos here to try to farm some rupees. Looks like they're both going to be relatively safe. This room actually scares me with the switch underneath the Igor. I've died more in this room in Eastern, I think, than any other while sitting on one heart.
Because the Igor is completely covering the switch, it's kind of difficult sometimes to tell if you are at the...
Oh no,
oh no, Screevo!
I was really hoping that he was going to grab that. There's a heart underneath that left pot there. We'll see if Jet ends up grabbing it. Oh man, the same thing almost happened to Jet right there. So you see just how tricky that room can be with the timing. Nice arrow strat to kill the Pope. I don't know, I'm pretty sure he was intending to use what he would normally have equipped there, which is the boomerang, but ended up killing the Popo and got a red drop out of it, so kind of ended up working out pretty well. But he's going to be a little bit behind here now, having to go through the majority of Eastern again and then finish off the Armos fight.
Right, and going back to what you were talking about before about the rupee collecting, the Popos are part of a prize pack, so the way drops work in this game is an enemy is always, you know, bunched with another or several other enemies, and there's a 50-50 chance for any enemy to drop an item, and if they do, the item they drop depends on where you are in the prize pack. So the Popos are in a prize pack where they just drop a bunch of rupees, and the red rupee is something that you're looking for because it makes collecting all the rupees you need before the Dark World a lot easier and less stressful.
Yep, absolutely. We'll probably talk about that a little bit more once our runners actually get to the trees that they're going to pull. But right here, we'll actually be able to kind of determine what route these runners are going to take. Looks like in our top race here, both of them are going to be doing the tree rupee route. I think we may see Nicky going to the back of Saha's hut here to grab the rupees out of some chests instead, which is an entirely valid option. Really, you're only going to lose like a total of anywhere from like 4 to 6 seconds opting to grab these rupees here, as opposed to doing the other rupee route that I imagine the other 3 will be doing.
Yeah, we'll see where Nicky decides to go. Collects his boots right here.
ALTTP, third try spin speed, fourth try spin speed, gets it. He just does not give up. Jet's going to be making his attempt. Gets it first try. This spin speed, it is faster in the most technical sense. If you get it first try and if your movement thereafter is pretty optimal. So it can be a little tricky if you are going for it and not executing those things, because you may end up just losing time on average with it. So, but spin dashing there is one of the minor glitches that we are using throughout this run to save a little bit of time here and there.
Yep, just a cool way to make sure you can move around at dash speed, but you move freely, you don't have to move in cardinal directions, so it definitely is useful in a few rooms here and there when you can actually use it.
Oh, nice. Nicky doing that spin speed as well. I think everybody in this race goes for that spin speed except for like apparently I'm the only person who doesn't do that spin speed anymore. But yeah, it can save you know, around half a second or something like that if you do it well. I think we'll probably see Screevo attempt it here. Yeah.
I think the spin speeds in the library screen are just something that everyone sees everyone do, so they think, hey, that's just how you're supposed to do it. There's no other way to do it. But there are, if you just use dashes there and you dash properly, it doesn't lose a significant amount of time at all.
Right. But that is, you know, it is just a very, it's a personal thing for the runner themselves, you know. We're not trying to necessarily fault anyone for going for whatever strats they decide to go for, because ultimately at the end of the day, it's their speed run, you know, and it's up to them what they want to do with it. So if you like doing it, if you enjoy doing it, if it's fun to do it, I mean, you know, do it. If you're gonna lose a little bit
by all
of time
means,
with it,
use whatever
it doesn't
strategy
matter.
or technique that you want to get through rooms.
Yeah. Believe it or not, speedrunning can be fun, and even this game, which has, you know, caused a lot of pain in the past, I'm sure.
I don't know if I believe that.
I'll convince you by the end of this year, I promise.
All right, okay.
Once you get like,
I'll keep my mind open.
Once you get your 127, you'll feel a lot better.
All right, we'll see. I'll let you know.
Yeah, there's going to be lots of little things that you see like that throughout this run. You know, sometimes, and it's really interesting, you'll see even the very, very top runners, you know, we're talking top 10, top 20, not going for the most optimal strats in room because, you know, it may just not be consistent for them. Joe D'Amelio is a really, really good example of a really great 124 runner now, who uses very, very consistent strats that are still very fast, but aren't necessarily the most optimal in every single room. But you know, he does what works for him, and he has a really amazing time still.
Yeah, Joe is definitely a runner to go watch for different unique strats. He definitely doesn't craft his game after anyone else or really worry about the most optimal thing. He's doing what's best for him, and he still has a very, very good time. So another runner, when you have that conversation, another runner people always bring up is ACMLM. He, especially in the late game, he has a lot of strats that are much safer, but still has I believe a 125, which is a very, very good time. So all right, again, desert, not much to talk about because people are just dashing around. So collecting a key, going, getting the big chest, dashing to the other side, going to get the gloves, just dashing around, maybe collecting some more rupees from some popos, but otherwise nothing terrible, no crazy tricks, but probably the most difficult boss fight in the game to complete optimally.
Yeah, I'd say this is easily top 3, if not top 2, most difficult boss fight in the game. These worms are flying out in random directions for random lengths of time, so this fight is really all about just having a lot of practice and hours in the fight, and just understanding kind of what their movement tends to be. It's, obviously never 100% predictable. One kind of thing that you can look for is if a landmo is spawning like really close to a corner or something like that. Sometimes you can, make the assumption that, okay, they're going to probably jump to the center of the room, so I can try to adjust my timing and my walking pattern after I'm firing my arrows to adjust for that. But then sometimes they'll just hop directly into that corner, and there's nothing you can do about it. So,
yep.
Yeah, still really close on the top here.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to mention. Jet and Auth have picked up dependence within just a few seconds of each other. So with the Landmo fight being so variable, that's actually, it's pretty cool that they're so close still.
Screevo not too far behind Nicky, even after that death in Eastern Palace, and yeah, Landmo can be another great equalizer here. I can't stress it enough. It's not an easy fight, and tons of strats have been developed to try to make it easier, but really it just comes down to grinding and practice. Nicky here does have 3 bombs that she did grab in the back of the hut. Sometimes you will see runners try to use bombs on this fight, especially on the first cycle when at least their spawn points are predictable, but pretty decent fight out of Screevo, and he's going to pull ahead of Nicky here as a result. But Nicky actually not too far behind, cleaning up the fight, just right behind Screevo now. And
our top runners have finished up the the fake flippers glitch. There is a chance of soft locking there, but they come away freely, and now they're on their way up to Death Mountain to complete Tower of Hera. We'll see Screevo and Nicky making their way over to spin speed. Why do I keep calling it spin speed? Fake flippers now. Yeah, Nicky is going to go for it. It's one of those things that not a lot of people know that the next most optimal strat only loses about 6 or 7 seconds if you do it right. So a lot of people go for this trick, not knowing that there's another option. But that being said, it's also not very difficult. There's just that chance of possibly soft locking.
Yeah, you see pretty much everyone using the bush down there to set it up, and by slashing that bush to buffer an upright movement, it puts you on the correct walking pattern such that you will hit the very edge of the screen and jump into the water. Or actually the last frame before you transition the screen is when you hit the edge and you jump in the water from there. And you transition the screen, and then the game just doesn't check to see if you have flippers, so you can just keep swimming. So luckily none of our runners got hit during that, which would result in that soft lock. So everybody's going to be heading into Hera. Look at these rupee counts. 26, 31, and 51.
51 for Screevo. That's definitely a side effect of the death he took in Eastern.
Yeah, for sure. Getting that extra red, and he may have actually worked his way back around the prize pack to get back to that red drop. So, man, this top race is something else. They're going to be chilling together here in one of the very few, maybe it's the only one actually, sort of, that it can be considered a real like auto scroller, maybe like the T-Rock platform maze, but yeah, really not a whole lot to do in this room other than just wait for the tiles to run their course. So.
Yeah, it's the only room in the game, I'd say, where you're waiting for something so you can actually move forward. You know, any other time that's happening in the game, there's usually something else you can do to use that time. But in this room, the only thing you can do is wait for these tiles to attack you and then break.
Yeah, I'm glad that's one of the very few. I guess that's like the only significant tile room that we actually encounter within this run, and that makes me very happy because the speed run may be even more painful.
Yeah,
otherwise, if we had to go through more of them.
There's definitely enough RNG in the game. So if they made me wait around even more, then I don't know if I'd be able to handle it.
Oh no, Screevo went for the boom dash there, and he got it, and he got to the other side of the pegs. But you know, in the best case scenario, you want to stop right on those pegs so that you actually get the iframes from them. You can just stand on the pegs and don't have to worry about killing these tiles.
Yeah, you'll see in the top race, the beetle room is you know, it's not a very tough room, but it's very tough to do optimally, and it can go wrong pretty quickly. And that's probably one of the more prominent rooms in this tower that you'll be able to lose, or not be able to, but you'll unfortunately lose time. So we'll see that Jet pulled ahead a pretty decent amount just because of some unfortunate execution errors coming out from Moth.
Yep, and you just saw there two of the runners here executing the bomb jump in Hera, which is the first instance that we see of that particular trick, and both executed it well and got past it. And now Jet's going to be jumping into the Moldorm fight. No! Dude, Moldorm came out of nowhere. He was like barely on the screen when Jet got to the arena, and then just instantaneously knocked him out as soon as he jumped in. There was nothing he really could have done about that. So
yeah, and Moldorm is a place we consistently see a lot of lead swaps, changes, and people either pulling ahead more or falling behind more. So this is also a very variable fight, and that you know, little error there causing that fall for Jet causes Auth to be able to clean up the fight quickly himself and take the lead by, again, just a few seconds.
Yeah, Jet's refight was really nice there. Surviving with one heart. Shoutouts to Sankart. Speaking of shoutouts to Sankart, Screevo here, sitting at one heart in the petting zoo. Going to make an assumption that he hit the safety switch because this is a race, and you'll probably see a lot of runners doing that. And he did as such, so he'll be able to restore a little bit of HP here. Nicky also attempting the bomb jump here. Bonking because that increases the window to 6 pixels that you need to be away from the edge in order for that bomb to actually boost you over. But nicely executed from everyone. I think everyone had pretty decent bomb jumps. That's really good to see. If you fall there, that's a 2 forward fall. Definitely loses a lot of time. Whereas if you fall to Moldorm, Yeah, it's painful, especially if it's like on the last hit, but you're only falling one floor at least.
Right, and so switching gears a little bit, authorblues just pulled his first tree, and we'll see Jet doing the same here, so they'll be able to collect rupees before the Dark World. They pulled that tree, so that starts a little bit of a chain reaction with the other trees you can pull. From this point on, as long as they kill 4 enemies and don't take any damage, the next tree that they can pull, once they do, will yield 4 red rupees, and based on their rupee counts now, that will definitely get them to what they need before entering the Dark World.
Yep. And on the bottom here, Screevo actually ended up taking a fall to Moldarm, so he's on his second fight there, just now finishing it up. Nicky on the last hit here. Ooh, okay. Very nice use of holding the sword out and holding away from the edge of the pit so that she didn't get knocked into the hole there. Finishing up the fight, once again, just behind Screevo. So both these races still very close. And now that we're coming up on the biggest RNG pain point of the run, anything can really change at this point.
Alright, so you're going to see a few differences now between Screevo and Nicky. Screevo will be going for the tree rupees, but Nicky is going to have the chance to just run straight by them. So this is where you can actually make up some time if you do use the rupees in Sahasrarla's hut.
So Screevo is going to be able to skip at least 1 red rupee, since he does have 61 rupees at this point. If he had 64, he would actually be able to skip another red one. Yeah, Nicky not having to worry about doing the tree rupees or anything like that. Just going to be making her way through Lost Woods to grab the Master Sword. I almost said Master Sword.
The Master Sword. You must collect the Master Sword.
I don't know where that accent
and the
came from.
pendants.
Okay, I was a little worried for Jet there, actually, that he was going to get hit out of that dash. There are like 2 pixels, I think, that you want to, or 2 Y coordinates, I guess, or X coordinates that you want to be dashing up on there in order to not get hit by those guys. It's pretty important to have sword beams throughout Aga's tower here, not just because of having full health, but for a few of the strats that you're going to see here. You notice Auth did a little setup with the sword beams there, and then dash killed those 2 guards there. Dash killing an enemy sets the drop rate to 0 for the prize pack, so they will not actually work their way through the prize pack. That was kind of an interesting strat from Jet there, trying to go for a top dash to kill those guards there, but ended up killing them normally, and did get a heart drop there, so we need to kind of watch out and see what happens on the pod bridge for him. Screevo skipping that red there.
Yeah, the Helmosaurs are also part of that prize pack, so since he got that drop there, if he gets another drop from the Helmosaur that you were just talking about in pod, then that will throw the prize pack off, and he won't be able to force that fairy drop in Turtle Rock later on. So everyone's got all the rupees they need, just making their way up through Aghanim's Tower. Honestly, for me, Aghanim's Tower is probably one of the more fun segments. Fighting Aghanim is not fun at all. It's very boring and very RNG heavy, but the dungeon itself is really fun because there's each room there's usually some technical aspect of it, or something very execution heavy that you have to deal with. So it's just a pretty fun room in general.
Yeah, kind of like that room that you just saw from Screevo there. Kind of doing a slight variation of the strats that you saw from the other runners who just spun kill those guards instead, but doing the Pui strat there in those Gold Knights room, saving about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds, something like that when you execute it well. But he also got the heart drop from those guards there, so we're going to need to keep an eye on his mini Helma on the pod bridge.
Wait, Screevo got the heart drop?
Yeah, he sure did. Nicky
also got the heart drop, but if any of the runners go for powder, I believe it would be Nicky, so we'll watch out, see what's decided there.
Yep, and Jake just dropped the blue ball command into the chat there so you can see what this fight is really all about. You got some coin flips here to see if you're going to end up losing time or not.
Oh, it's not about anything. This fight is about nothing.
It's the Seinfeld of boss fights.
Yeah, you just sit there and deflect his attacks back. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and that's all it is. So.
Alright, I've seen at least 2 on both sides here in the top race. I got Screevo.ppt going on in the bottom left here for a few seconds. All good now. But yeah, back to Aga Tower and execution. Oh, authorblues finishing up the Aga fight. I think that was 3 total. I think he killed him on the first one after lightning. But yeah, Aga Tower is almost like a little bit of like a mini Ganon's Tower, you know? It's kind of like the junior version of that. So yeah, it does have a lot of execution in it, for sure. It was one of those dungeons I really didn't like when I first started learning the speedrun because I was bad, and I'm still pretty bad, but I'm less bad now. And it's become a lot more fun over time to execute. Jet looks like he's getting a little more trolled with the RNG here than Auth is, so
yeah,
gonna be some unfortunate time loss there. Not too terrible though. I think he's gonna end up being like 40-something seconds behind once we get to Sword Up of the White World here.
No, Auth takes some damage before heading into Palace of Darkness in that first pyramid screen. And that's not the biggest deal, but sword beams are going to come into play later for some strats. That could save a few seconds here and there, so you want to have you know, full hearts at least going into the second half of the match.
Screevo dropping maybe some potential spoilers here in chat that he got the minimal amount of blue balls, which would be 0. We will see right here, I believe. If he kills him right here, it's 0. Yep.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I mean, I think it's in the game code.
Hard coded, yeah. If you have at least one death, if you have at least one death by that point.
Yeah, if you have died, then you will not get any blue balls.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Auth did take some damage out there. It's definitely not insignificant. He's going to need to pick up at least a few more heart pots. But yeah, it will potentially change some things throughout the dungeon here. Because he will be intentionally taking damage by doing one of the most difficult tricks in this game, especially when you're first learning the speedrun of it. Is something we use to slightly do the dungeon out of order and not have to go down into the basement to get another small key, but it's another bomb jump to get to the hammer, and it requires 2 exact Y coordinate placements. First of the bomb to be planted, and then secondly for Link himself so that he gets properly boosted across the gap there. So you'll see that really soon coming up from authorblues in the top right here.
Man, Nicky got really trolled by Aghanim. I don't know what the count was, but I saw, every time I looked over, I saw a blue ball come up. So that was very unfortunate for Nicky.
Yeah, you hate to see that. Everyone has felt that pain, but almost no one has felt the pain quite so much as Screevo has. He's had 15 blue balls twice live on stream in front of actual people who saw it happen.
And 15 is the maximum you can get, because you do get a guaranteed energy ball to deflect back each cycle. So 15 is the absolute.
Sorry to interrupt here, but authorblues is executing the bomb jump here. Ooh, unbuffered on the second position there, using the sword lineup on the bomb itself. Usually you'll see runners using the pause menu there to actually check their position and making sure they're in the right spot. And doing so also pauses the game, which means that bridge, which is falling very quickly behind you and will, you know, cause you to reset the room, will also stop when you pause the game. So he didn't even bother with that. Doesn't even need it. You know, he's taken 4 character file names and throwing away free pause buffers. So some really, really excellent gameplay coming out of ALTTP there.
Oh, and Jet does get the fairy drop as he's attempting the bomb jump, taking a few extra buffers. And fortunately, since Auth didn't take any extra damage other than the bomb jump, he was able to collect those 3 hearts in those pots there, and now is back at full health, so he'll be able to use sword beams in the upcoming rooms to save a little bit of time. And a bunch of pause buffers from Jet, but he does end up completing the bomb jump. But he won't be able to force the fairy drop later on in Turtle Rock, as we saw the fairy drop from the Helmosaur there.
Alright, so Screevo on the bottom left here. Ooh, wow. Showing off some neat dash tech at the edge of that pit there, but going to be taking a crack at the bomb jump here. Also gets the fairy on the bridge, so he's not going to have that drop lined up for T-Rock. I almost said Drock, which is, I guess, how you just say D-Rock, right? No, he pressed the mirror!
Oh no, so the reason we used that pause buffer, like Greenham was saying, was so we have a little bit of extra time to judge where our position is, but you have to make sure you menu over to the bombs at some point, or else you'll see that, and that actually happens a lot more often than you think.
Screevo, just ever the diva, could not help himself, just needed to look into that mirror one last time. And now he gets the full magic drop from the mini Helma. That's extra unfortunate because that's also kind of important for T-Rock, but ALTTP is in the Helmosaur fight here, still rocking full health, not getting any fireballs. 3 hammers, ooh, just misses the spin there, but overall a really clean fight from off there. 0 damage whatsoever.
We'll see how Jet deals with the Tortugas here. Ooh, gets a little trolled and isn't able to spin all 4. Only gets 3 of them the first spin, but just a few seconds going out its way to make sure he kills that last one at the bottom of the room. He'll be making his way over to Helma now. Ooh, it's always good when Helma charges straight at you in the beginning. Oh, and he does it twice for Jet, so he's getting pretty good RNG. But he gets a fireball, so that's pretty much going to negate all that good RNG that he got, because trying to hit the mask with fireballs can be pretty annoying.
Yeah, and he gets back. Oh, nice use of the despawn there, yep.
So, little known fact, if you break the mask while the fireball is on screen, it'll actually despawn the fireballs as it starts the next phase of the fight. So, Jet making good use of that there.
Alright, Nikki with her attempt at the bomb jump now. The first placement needs to move up, I think, 2 pixels here. Trying to sword buffer to move 1 frame. I think you're good?
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Got it there.
Good adjustments there.
Alright, now ALTTP has a pretty sizable lead in this race right now. However, there's, the hardest parts of the game are yet to come. Thieves Town is a pretty straightforward segment. Just gotta get the shovel, then get the flute, then get the bird, and then just make your way over to Thieves Town, which is, it's not trivial, but it's definitely not the most daunting dungeon in the game. And we see Screevo entering Helmosaur now. Ooh, he gets charged straight away too, and he gets the double charge straight away. Oh, and he gets the fireball. Pretty much the same RNG as Jet. Yeah. But he decides to take his time and dodge those fireballs, and he doesn't get a second fireball. Going for hammers.
Knockback in the tail though from him.
Oh no, gets hit twice now.
Fireball's gonna be a little scary here. Nice dodges though.
Oh, okay. Gets the final slash to finish it off.
Yo. Can't dodge a mirror, but man, he can dodge everything that Helma threw at him.
Yeah, that was very, very good heads-up play there.
Jet getting a little trolled on the hammer dash bridge there. Hammer dashing, one of the instances of item dashing in this game. One of the more useful applications of it that we use throughout the run. All you gotta do is hit A and Y at the same time, and be using the Japanese 1.0 version of this game, and you will execute that item dash.
Isn't it weird how, like, when you're doing commentary, item dashing can come up right away, or sometimes you don't talk about it until like the very end.
Until the very end,
Talk
yeah.
about this.
Well, see, really, more people just need to be. Well, I guess, I mean, the first place we normally talk about it, I guess, would be the boom dash in Hera. But more people need to do the torch dash in the torch room in Hera, so we can talk about it then.
Oh yeah, great torch dash, great stuff.
All right, so Oth's going to be picking up the powder here. Very, very good safety. Very good idea for races. Going for the Witch's Hut spin speed. Shoutouts for the attempt. There was an attempt at the Witch's Hut spin speed. One of the best ones in the game, in my opinion. Unfortunately, not getting the state, but Jet going to be using the super speed to get past Usain Bolt there. Meanwhile, Nicky finishing off the Helma fight with 1 heart left.
Yeah.
Cleaning it up with some arrows. Very heads-up play
Just
there.
got fed up there and was like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go with the range battle right now and
Not a bad
finish
idea
up
at
the
all.
fight. Only has 5 arrows right now, and arrows are the one resource that is really tough to come by. So she's probably gonna have to end up picking up a lot of backups later on.
Yeah, Screevo did get lotteried outside of pod. Jet's getting a little hecked up here too, so Jet right now is on the screen where you can bonk this tree here to get some apples, opting not to do it. So must be pretty confident in his Thieves Town.
There's a couple places in Thieves Town too that
Screevo!
a hard drop here and a hard drop there. Oh,
Did you see that? I don't know if
if
that was intentional or not. I kind of want to just give him the benefit of the doubt and say it was, but the very rarely seen shovel dash in the NMG run. Very cool looking. Unfortunately, only actually digs up the very last tile that you dig, I believe. So it's not like you can just do that to farm drops everywhere in the game.
Alright, he's getting spin speed. Dashing straight past Usain Bolt right there. As we have Jet and Author still very close. In the same few rooms here in Thieves Town, authorblues is about to exit into the main portion of the dungeon. But again, Jet is only about a screen or so behind, so this is still anyone's race. And the most punishing segment for a death, and actually probably the few most punishing segments for death, are still yet to come. Ice Palace, you can lose several minutes. Total Rock, depending where you die, you can lose several minutes. And Gannett's Tower, we've seen Gannett's Tower just give people, you know, tons and tons of time loss, because once you start making your way up the tower, any death causes you to reset and have to do everything back over again in Gannett's Tower. So there's always a chance for a runner to come back all the way up until the end of the game.
Absolutely, and that gets proven time and time again, so can never be too sure. Screevo did bonk the apple tree, so he's going to be full hearts rolling into Thieves Town here. Meanwhile, Jet did not opt to do that and is now sitting on 2 hearts. Got a little, got some bad RNG in what we refer to as the Hellway.
Jet
Yeah, he's got to
hanging
be
around for a
really
second just
careful
to
there.
make sure he gets that floor bombed open. If you actually dash out of that room before the bomb goes off, or if it doesn't make the floor crumble appropriately, you might get all the way to blind fight and realize that there's no light for you to actually make blind appear. So
That's
no, that's
right.
yeah, that was
My
that was unfortunate.
goodness. Man, sometimes this game is just too good, you know. Those enemies were just programmed way too well. Got some definite aim assist going on there. So yeah, that's a pretty unfortunate death. That's going to give Auth just a little bit of a gap here now. Jet's going to have to go through the Hellway again and hit the switch and then go rescue the maiden from the prison, because he did bomb the floor open already, so doesn't have to go do that again. Let's hope he gets a little better
all he has
RNG
to
and
do is hit
stays
the
healthier
switch.
here.
And Screevo just
got trolled just before Hellway by the Patrick Stars in that room, and then didn't get good RNG to get the God Pixel, but the second half of Hellway was a lot nicer to him.
Okay. Jet got past the scene of the crime. Meanwhile, Auth is in the scripted fight known as Blind. Nice. Good
I have to
fight.
say, fortunately, Jet took the death before starting the blind fight, because if you take a fight in blind, it's a lot more difficult to fight when blind is already there and waiting for you as you enter the room.
Yo, nice spin speed after the swag duck from Nicky. That's a fun strat to do. Gonna be collecting some apples here. Delicious, delicious apples.
Alright, Auth has a pretty serious lead right now, but he'll be coming up to Skull Woods, which is a tight segment because we do an intentional bomb jump that gives us damage, and there's a bunch of enemies that can do 2 hearts of damage and are very random, so another scary segment coming up. And then, as I said, Ice Palace after that is very punishing if you end up taking a death there.
Indeed it is. Alright, so Jet is on his version of the scripted fight, which appears to be slightly off, but, you know, still in a relatively decent spot. As long as you get to this third phase relatively healthy, you're going to be fine if you know the script, so gets out of the blind fight, no problem. He's really not going to be too far behind Auth at all. Let's see what Screevo's version of blind is. He used to do a different version of this fight, and I need to ask him actually after this race why he doesn't do that version anymore.
Ooh, he's starting a little bit off. Takes a hit there, but cleans it up pretty nicely. He had plenty of time to still get back in position to clean up the third phase.
Yeah, you can kind of judge how good or bad relatively a blind fight was by where he actually ends up when you kill him. If he is not even touching the light to the left of it, you had a really good fight. If he's touching the light or like a little bit in it, it was still a really good fight. And you know, any fight that you get out of alive is still a good one. So
Nicky getting trolled a little bit in the Hellway. Just a lot of enemies there to try and deal with that move pretty quickly and diagonally or cardinally. So while you're on a conveyor, it can be pretty difficult to get through that room quickly.
Alright, authorblues approaching a crucial screen, crucial trick of the game. Defense dash. Goes for it, recognizes that he probably didn't get it, I think. He may have moved 2 frames there instead of the 1, but kudos to the attempt, at least. Oh wow, Nicky is sitting on half a heart right now. Does have powder, though, so there's going to be an anti-fairy once she gets past this room here that she can grab to refill. Oh, I was so worried about that right when the dash started, too. That's really unfortunate. But at least has the floor bombed open now, so at least doesn't have to redo, I should say, that part of the dungeon.
Similar situation as Jet experienced before with that death. Doesn't really have to go horribly out of the way, but still has to go down and get the...
authorblues is in the worst room in the game, and you're seeing why.
Oh, no, it takes 4 hearts of damage and then has to reset the room because it gets picked up by the hand.
Yeah.
So big time loss there, but he gets a lot better RNG this time around. Manipulates those mummies a little bit better. And now he's cleanly through. And that's why this segment is so dangerous. He still has to do the bomb jump to get the fire rod. And oh, but he does have powder, so he's going to powder the bunny beam under that pot there.
I didn't see if Jet got the fence dash or went for it, but Screevo is going to be coming up on it now, and I'm going to be paying very close attention to that.
Oh, he definitely got it. I could tell.
Oh, yes, he did. Oh, yes, he did.
Good stuff. Right, Screevo. Holding it down with the fence dash.
Hitting left and A at the same time to start his dash. all the swag in the world, but ends up getting the skull bush right outside the house. Jet in the worst room in the game. Is that too far right? No, he's good.
He's good and gets through that room cleanly, which is always a bonus. If you can get through that room without too much of a fuss, then you've succeeded.
Yeah, you can pretty much always hear an extremely audible sigh of relief once I get past that room in my runs. A little bit early slashes there from Screevo to kill those jellies with the beam. But, yeah, Gibdos were pretty friendly to him there. The best thing you can see is when one of those Gibdos actually gets stuck on the left side of the room and can't actually get to you. It's very amusing to watch, and also one of the better RNGs you can experience.
Moth going through the mummy hellway, makes it through cleanly. He takes a hit, but he does make it through with just taking a couple hearts of damage, and there's another fairy for him to collect there.
Oh, I think I know what Screevo's gonna do here. No, he's gonna hover, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, he's hovering! What a professional player.
Oh, nice. Saving the bomb. Not really saving too much time, but definitely saving a bomb and gaining even more swag points as a result. So you see he intentionally falls into that pit there to get iframes here so he can just walk through that ropa, which I guess he decided to kill anyway.
The fight got away from Nicky a little bit, that blind fight, but is able to clean it up at the end there.
I think we completely missed something horrible happening to authorblues, and I greatly apologize for that. I think he took a death on Moth, I want to say, based on his magic situation right now. So having to come back through this room, and now Jet has actually taken the lead. Authorblues does have this mummy key already, so we'll save a little bit of time there. Jet did get the full magic drop there from the mini helm as well, so not going to be seeing that in T-Rock. Sword beams in this room is one of the worst things in existence. As you can see, it's almost impossible to kill that Gibdo. And then Auth actually got the heart drop from that mini helmet, but doesn't matter.
Solid fight.
Yeah, really nice Moth fight.
He utilized the fire rod a little bit too to kind of coax Moth down from the top of the room, which can be really difficult to actually get damage on Moth when he just hovers at the top of the room like that.
Okay, thank you, chat, for clarifying what happened to Auth. Looks like he got wall mastered there, so I'm not sure when that happened.
Because I didn't see.
I don't know if he got moth hold or what, but
Screevo
yeah,
also utilizing the fire.
3 of these guys are like in the same fight now, so.
Yeah. Utilizing the fire rod in this fight, but Moth goes, "No, I'm just gonna hang out up here again," and with no fire rod left, nice poke dash there from Screevo to finish off the fight. We got a race here, folks.
Oh, the bounce though. Catching it on the hop. One of my old Skullwoods Gold actually had something similar to that in it. that heart container can be especially weird if, like, when Moth embeds himself into the wall like that.
Yeah, when he's at the very, very top or something like that. Alright, Jet. Fluting to 4. Heading over to pick up the medallion from the catfish and pick up the flippers on his way to Ice Palace.
Yeah, this is a really great race. I think like it's 20 seconds at maximum or something like that, separating Jet and Auth right now.
Right, and Screevo is also right behind as well. Nicky decides to go for half magic, which can be pretty useful later in the game, especially in Ice Palace.
Yeah. It's going to make the cold stare fight a lot more safer. You're going to actually have some magic left over to hit those puffs as well as your sword. I think half magic was the only safety I didn't grab starting out. I kind of wish I would have taken it, honestly, to start.
Screevo wants to get revenge on that Javelin Guard. He tried to go for the swag block and ended up getting hit. So he says, you know what, I am going to kill this guy before moving on. And he's going to have to try and collect the heart before entering an Ice Palace.
He's just removing all the witnesses from the scene of the crime. Nobody can ever state what actually happened. He's going to go back to the pyramid later and dispatch the rest of them as well. Nicky went for the fence dash, unfortunately bonked, but sticking all the way through it though.
Committed. That's what I like to see.
Committed. That's an excellent word. Thank you. All right, Zora's Domain here at the top of your screen from both of these runners. A very, very difficult section to optimize. These dashes are not easy, and it's very easy to just dash off and jump into the deep, dark blue water here that you see. So very, very technical section with all the dashing here.
Sorry, authorblues just did this crazy fireball dodge with a dash. So, sorry, I just had to react there. But yeah, to your point, this whole screen is water, so you want to dash as much as possible just to make sure you're getting through as quickly as possible because dashes are more effective in water. But at the same time, you know, you have to stop short to make sure you don't jump into the water, the deep water, things like that. So it is a really frustrating screen at times to get through quickly.
Wow, and you see how high Auth was just dashing in the water there. It can be kind of deceptive with the way the game is drawn as to where you can actually dash. So in order to really, really, really optimize things, you'll see people dashing at the very, very top of that, the edge of that water there, which you can actually still dash on.
Jet does not have sword beams going into this second room in ice here, so he's got to wait for that jelly to finish electrocuting before he can kill it and pick up the key. That's why we like to make sure we have full hearts going into ice. You saw Screevo farm for hearts a little bit earlier too, because we saw him take damage from something that I don't remember.
Thought he was going to go back on that warp again for a second. Nicky, 2 tries on that bomb jump there, but gets the fire rod. I'm going to be finishing up Skullwoods now. As we mentioned, Ice Palace is probably, I think it's one of the more difficult. It's definitely difficult in RTA, you know, when you're really trying to PB, but I feel like it's almost even worse in a race situation because it is such high pressure throughout almost the entire thing, and then it culminates with this boss fight where the main part of the boss does 4 hearts of damage, you know, and you're intentionally taking damage in at least one of the rooms throughout here, so it can definitely be a very nerve-wracking dungeon to go through in almost any setting.
Right, but a couple of our runners here have powder, which makes it a little bit safer and less stressful, because there is an anti-fairy you can powder just before going into the cold stair fight. Jet gets completely, but it has to wait for the fire stick, so that's going to allow Auth to make up a little bit of time here as long as he doesn't have to do the same. Oh, but he is going to wait for the fire stick himself. You got to be careful going through here. No. Oh my goodness, authorblues just tempting fate there. He would have had to do the bomb jump again.
That was just clean movement. Clean movement got him through.
He had to, if he got knocked down that hole.
Oh boy, Nicky is sitting on 1 heart here. Has to be really careful. Screevo's going to not even be bothering with the bomb jump. Okay.
Oh, the fire stick.
He really wants to save the bomb though. Nope, never mind. He gave it 1 good shot and says, heck that, I'm going to do it the normal way. Unfortunately, shoutouts to Japanese 1.0 there.
Oh no, Nicky! Was using the fire rod, but unfortunate. It does have fairy in a bottle, though.
There are things happening everywhere here. Screevo is on his last heart right now. Yeah, Jet falling into the gold stair fight. Yeah. Off right behind him. Nicky finishing up the moth fight.
Alright, let's see. Ooh, interesting movement here from Jet. We'll see what strategy he goes for to finish off this part. He's going to go for 6 slash, but they get away from him. His movement was a little unoptimal, just trying to keep them together there, but they didn't go straight too far, so he finishes up the fight nicely. And we saw Auth practicing this just before the race started, and he has a pretty clean fight too. So, wow, a very, very well executed fight by Auth brings him just a few seconds behind Jet now. We have a really close race here.
Yeah, I'm sure they're both just to be... You know, just stoked to be through that fight and moving on from Ice Palace now. Screevo, I'm going to venture a guess he will be heading north in this room.
Oh, come on, man.
No, I'm just kidding.
I would totally do the same thing in this scenario.
Especially in a race setting. So he's going to fall down here. It's going to bring him to a room with some fairies, and then he'll just warp right back up to this room here. so he can dash down towards Gold Stair.
And you can kind of see, you know, just how unintended the route that we're taking through Ice Palace is here, because you saw that he just walked backwards through a locked door, which you should never be able to do unless that bomb jump were possible. So the fact that that bomb jump is possible is what makes Ice Palace as fast as it is.
And he'll be entering Gold Stair now. We'll see how that fight goes for him in just a moment, while we see both Auth and Jet fluting to... Oh, Jet is fluting to 8 and picking up the Ice Rod now. Looks like he goes on his collecting spree before Swamp, which most
looks like they're
do
both
after
doing it.
Ooh, authorblues as well.
Yeah, I think they're doing it in slightly different orders. I think Auth is getting Ice Rod first, whereas Jet got it second, if I saw that correctly.
Oh no, Screevo getting hit by the falling ice because the fight gets away from him. He was trying to do some sword beam strats as he had sword beams, which I don't know. I feel like if he just stayed with his original strat, that it would have gone a little bit more cleanly, because that was causing him to be in kind of awkward positions and made him not able to anticipate the falling ice as well.
Oh, the bush guard! Hello? I don't know that I've ever seen that particular bush guard there. Yeah, that's
Screevo was just killing some enemies there to see if he could get some magic to go back into Ice Palace with. If he gets the magic there, he would just redo the dungeon. But since he doesn't, he's going to flute and do Swamp first, and then he'll have the magic he needs after Swamp in order to redo the Ice Palace dungeon. So he's going to have to go back to that later after that Death to Gold Stair.
Yep. And I was mistaken earlier. It looks like Jet and Auth are actually doing the exact same item routing here. They both ended up getting Ice Rod first, and now we'll be grabbing Ether and then heading to Swamp. But yeah, Screevo's going to be in there right now, as you said, with his slight route divergence. But this is a really good race backup strat to go for, because at the end of this dungeon, obviously, you'll have full magic, and then you'll also be full hearts as well. So both really good things to have for Ice.
Yeah, this is going to pull Nicky pretty close to Screevo now. We're not really going to know who's ahead until after Screevo finishes Ice Palace, which we'll have to compare to when Nicky finishes Swamp Palace, assuming that Nicky doesn't take you know, a costly death in Ice Palace like Screevo did.
Oh man, okay. Okay, that's about enough out of the bombers there. That screen can be so ridiculous because you know, those bombers are very fast, and they can close on your position way more quickly than you would ever expect them to be able to. So sometime, you know, within the 30 frames of you starting your dash there on that screen, even if you move fairly well and optimally through it, you could potentially get hit there, as we saw Auth take a few hits, but very heads-up play there to powder that anti-fairy to restore him back to full health here. I'm just going to lose a little bit of time from, you know, the menu and switching over, but obviously way less time than dying here in Swamp.
Yeah, and Swamp isn't a place where most people worry about dying, but if you do die, and it definitely happens even at, you know, top runners, if you do die, it is pretty costly, because it is you know, a pretty large dungeon and have to navigate your way through. Yeah, we have Auth and Jet still really close. This is a very fun race. Nicky's going to be coming up on the bomb jump momentarily, collecting a few extra bombs just to, you know, have his backup just in case.
And I do hope these guys are kind of using Swamp as an opportunity to collect themselves a little bit before heading into the rest of the run here. Swamp is kind of that, you know, last little refuge before you really hit the difficulty of this game, where it really ramps up in the last few dungeons here. So after getting out of Ice Palace and then getting into Swamp here right before you get into the true end game, a nice little break, and so it can be a nice little mental reset, kind of collect yourself and and really get prepared.
Yeah, definitely agree with you on that one. Once I get through Ice Palace alive, it's kind of like a big sigh of relief, and it's like, okay, I can kind of relax for a second before I have to get myself mentally ready for Mire and the late game.
Shoutouts to the Stalfo, stuck on the pegs there, being very Travolta.gif, wondering what was going on, where everyone was.
All right, Nicky made it past the bomb jump successfully. Going through the Lonely Fire Bar room now and coming up on Cold Stare. So right now, just to keep tabs on our racers, it looks like Screevo is ahead as he.
Yo, the rail clip.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting strat there by Screevo. He did die at Cold Stare, so he is going to have to make his way through Ice Palace again. So we don't really know. We know he's behind Jet and Auth, but we don't really know where he is in relation to Nicky right now. So we're going to have to keep tabs later to see how close they actually are.
Yeah, Nicky did grab and capture a fairy for this fight, so pretty healthy. Going to be falling into the Cold Stare fight here. Also has a fairy in a bottle, so if anything unfortunate does happen, we'll at least be able to recover one time from that. So does have half magic as well, so only going to need half of the MP bar to actually get rid of the shell here. Spins, some slashes, some more fire rods. You can see how useful it is to get the puffs away from you. Oh no, unfortunately. Not able to release that spin. Yeah, we're definitely on the same wavelength here.
He does have the fairy though, so no magic to be had, but can just juke, jive, dodge, and finish the fight there. Okay, so that fairy ends up being really important because Nicky's now going into swamp before Screevo is out of.
Screevo going for zero cycle.
Swamp himself.
Oh, he was one puff away. That was so close to the zero cycle kill.
Very close. Good execution there.
Yeah, not going to bother with the... well, he actually doesn't have magic, so he can't even do it, so good thing he didn't even pause there. So
yeah, another side effect of dying a Cold Stare, and he is through now. He and Nicky are on about the same... roughly the same point. I know that it's probably going to take Screevo a little bit less time to get through the rest of Ice Palace than it'll take Nicky to get through Swamp Palace, but we'll just have to wait and see once they finish the next boss.
Yep, pretty clean Argus fight here from Jet, opting for the hook and slash strat. Very good strat, very safe and easy, pretty easy to execute, so gets to that fight nicely, and Auth is going to be rolling into his attempt now.
Right, and this is a really, really good example of how Swamp can just kind of nickel and dime you and cause you to lose a lot of time, where you're not really sure how, because Auth and Jet went into the dungeon very, very close to each other, and it looks like Auth just getting hit here and there, collecting a fairy here and there, and getting some backups, and puts him a lot further behind than he was after he exited Ice Palace.
Yep. But a very solid Argus fight. Got the one cycle. Argus didn't move at all afterwards, and that is the best one cycle fight you can get, so not going to be losing any time on that, fortunately. As soon as they get through the longest cutscene of the Dark World here, we'll be heading on to the next dungeon.
Oh,
they already have their shopping trip out of the way, which is really nice, because the next dungeon, Mire, everything hits very hard in there, and they will be intentionally taking damage throughout it, so they want to be really healthy throughout.
And they can just flute straight to Mire instead of worrying about taking damage on their little collecting sprees. So they will have full hearts for the second room of Mire, which makes it a little bit quicker if you can do it optimally, if you can execute well. Screevo unfortunately got dead rocked, had to flute back out, but he's made his way up to the top of Death Mountain once again. He's going to collect this medallion, and I'm assuming he's just collecting this now just to make sure he doesn't forget later as he leaves Ice Palace, because he does have to go back to Ice Palace still.
Yeah, probably just wants to get the shopping trip out of the way and then not have to worry about it, so
yeah, I mean,
be heading back to Ice now.
I can definitely see him leaving Ice Palace and then just saying, okay, I gotta go to Mire, and then forgetting that he has to pick these things up. So
Yeah.
definitely a good idea to just, while it's on your mind, do it now.
Alright, Jet got a 2-cycle Mire too, but was able to kill the Wizrobe at the top of the room, so not really losing much time there. Off with the bird carry, which I actually I'm really digging that variation on the bird toss. It's you know, it's the pacifist strat. You know, everyone gets to survive. You know, nobody gets thrown into the lake or anything. So
it's also the most optimal way to get the bird involved. So you know, I really respect him sticking to the meme, but also trying to save the frames.
very appropriate for ALTTP. Yes. All right. Screevo swimming over to Ice Palace now. Yo, that bomb slug was really trying to get into Jet's face, but nicely handled. All right, let's check out the torch times here, because that's going to give us a really good comparison point to see just how far apart they are. 110.19 for Jet. Noth is not too far behind at all.
Alright, we got... I feel like these runners are going to be really close, Screevo and Nicky. Which will still probably favor Screevo a little bit in the late game because he does have a lot more experience, and experience comes into play in a big way when you're going through Turtle Rock and Ganon's Tower. So, still pretty close here though, and we've seen a bunch of unfortunate mistakes from both runners, so still anyone's game for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And based on Oth's torch time there, it looks like they're a little less than 30 seconds apart right now in our top race.
And for being over an hour in, I mean, for these racers to be sticking within 30 seconds of each other the whole time is...
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so here's one of those points coming up on Jet's screen where you intentionally take some damage from these spikes, and then right when your iframes run out, you step on that switch so you can grab the key out of that chest there. If done well, you're only going to take 3 hearts of damage, and then you potentially get another heart from this Wizrobe here, and then 1 into that pot there. It does step on the spikes while he's grabbing the heart, so, you know, nothing gained, nothing lost, all good. But really healthy here going into the basement of Mire, which can be one of the trickier sections for sure.
Alright, Screevo back at Cold Stare, round 2.
No sword beams this time, so nothing to tempt him from going for these sort of strats. Expect him to do the standard fight this time around.
And Nicky is only a few rooms away from the Argus fight, so... He's going for 6 slash now. None of this sword beams, garbage. And the fight does get away from him a little bit, but he has plenty of health to tank that last ice hit and finishes it up.
Alright, so very, very important, crucial boss fight coming up here. On Jet's side, he's going to be intentionally taking damage from this goo that surrounds Vitreous in order to get some iframes, to get in there and do some real good damage on these eyeballs and finish them off. Pretty nicely done. Does get a lightning out of Vitreous. Just a 1-cycle fight. Still pretty good. You can get a slightly better fight and not get any lightning. But the most important thing, obviously, is just being alive at the end of it. So he has executed that well. Shout out to Blunt Bunny, by the way, on off stream.
The cameo.
He is very healthy here, so doesn't need to be too insanely worried about his health unless he does get bodied by an eyeball here, which can potentially happen if you get some bad RNG.
Yeah, that was an example there where he could have just gotten bodied, but nice, dodges the lightning and gets through. Just has to sink 8 arrows into this eyeball here, and he's going to switch the mirror just before the last hit, and good stuff. He's through. Just behind, still, you know, have text going on for Jet, so definitely not too far behind, and Nicky has finished up Cold Stare. or excuse me, Argus, as and you know was also going through text as Screevo was going through the text after Cold Stare. So,
Ooh, Screevo.
Pretty close race here still.
Getting up close and personal with the unfrozen version of Pete Casserly here. Taking 2 hits from the Dacto here, so he's going to be hurting quite a bit.
I feel like
into
this,
Meyer
if he bird
here.
tosses here, I feel like this is Grudge. Yeah.
Bird.
Oh, no bird toss, but he just take him with him.
Yeah, I almost expected him to like just maybe use the hammer to crush the bird after that point. But yeah, this is actually really significant for Screevo here to have taken this much damage already in the dungeon. He can potentially get a few hearts out of this room and restore a little bit of his health. But yeah, he's going to have to be really careful going through the rest of this dungeon here. If he gets hit by a bomb slug, which does 4 hearts of damage, he's going to be in a very dire situation.
Yeah, any extra damage at this point, especially because he is going to do the damage boost, most likely to get the spike key. He could opt. He could opt for a different key, but we'll see.
Oh my gosh, Jet is having some of the worst squirrel interactions I've seen.
The dead rocks, yeah.
Yeah, and not just on this screen too. I mean, you can see that he's missing 5 hearts now, rolling into T-Rock. Definitely not what you want to see, especially considering he does not have his prize pack lined up. I'm pretty sure he's seen the fairy and the full magic drop. I guess there is the potential of working your way completely back around the prize pack and getting back to the fairy, but needs to be very aware of his health throughout this dungeon and manage that well.
So I made a note, Jet actually slammed into the ground with the medallion at 1:15:40. So it looks like Auth is right there, and he's 33 seconds behind at 1:16:13. So just a few more segments left here, anyone's game, while we see Screevo getting to Meyer torches at 1:16. Nicky making her way over to Misery Meyer now. And again, any death at this point in the game is pretty costly. It's going to take a few minutes to reset back to where you took your death. So, any execution errors, any big mistakes, and this is still anyone's game.
Jet making really good use of the hookshot there. When Link is actually using the hookshot, he is considered to have iframes, so nothing can actually damage him during that time. He is locked into place, so it's not like you can dodge things and still have iframes or anything, but using that in the roller room very effectively. Unfortunately, authorblues, you see there, trying to do the same thing, just a little bit late on his hookshot though, and unfortunately took some damage from that roller and just smartly decided to mirror out instead of risking going back through the room and taking potentially more damage.
Yeah, and Jet getting trolled a little bit by the chomps here. One just hanging out on the chest, and he takes a death there. Really, really bad chomp RNG. And he did, that's what comes into play there is the fact that he wasn't able to manipulate the fairy drop from the pokey. So he might have been able to live if not for that mistake much earlier on in the run. But we see Auth taking the lead now.
It sounds weird to say, but probably one of the better deaths that Jet could have taken to take that so early on and not any deeper into the dungeon. So
the strategic
definitely gonna lose some time.
Sure.
I'm not gonna call it intentional, but oh my gosh!
Okay. Yeah, still getting that RNG.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Okay, does have the key already.
The key. Yeah. Same page.
All right, Auth grabbing the extra arrows there, so he's gonna be all set when he gets in the G tower. All right, Screevo's health situation, I didn't see how he actually ended up at the health that he did, but it looks like he had a pretty good mire to still be this healthy at this point, so looks like it was well handled by him at least.
Right, Nicky at Meyer torches now. Auth getting the worst Jet getting the worst RNG you can get in that Poke room, but gets bunnied, which is almost pretty much inevitable unless you do a very, very difficult strat.
Alright, let's see how Screevo's Vitreous fight goes. Very important that he finish this fight and still be alive at the end of it. Nicely done.
Very
that was
good
a
zero
really
cycle
good
there.
zero cycle, yeah. So yeah, way to come back after all of that adversity and everything, and still finish the dungeon out strong. It can be always hard to recover when something goes wrong in your run, especially in a race setting when you're afraid that the other person is going to be right on your tail.
Yeah, and we see Nicky collecting this fairy here to make sure that there is a backup in case the fight goes wrong, because it is a damage boost heavy fight.
Okay, so Parisian pointed out that Screevo very smartly did not opt to go for the spike key and Mire and take those 3 hearts of damage and just opted for a different key instead, so
yeah, that's what I assumed.
Very good game knowledge and heads up play by him.
Alright, so again, just to recap, Jet took a death at the Chomps room, notorious for just being horrible with RNG and very difficult to deal with, which caused authorblues to get ahead. He has just finished the laser skip, which is another, stressful point. We see a lot of runners die at that trick, and he's going to make his way over to Trinex now, just a couple rooms away. And Jet is doing the laser skip now as well. Takes a little extra time to get that beetle out of the way, but he completes it, and he's dashing his way up the room. So very close here.
Was going for the Waffle House drive-through, unfortunately getting some bad RNG there. But yeah, let's definitely pay attention to Auth's Trinex fight up here. Going for the backdoor strat. It looks risky, but can actually be a little bit safer because you're going to actually be able to get over to this ice head a little bit faster and stun him before you can actually spit out any ice into the floor. And that was very well executed by Auth there. Let's see if he can clean up the second phase here. He's going to need a spin, hopefully get 2 hits off of that, and then finish it up with a slash. Jet's going to be going for the safer front door strat. I guess you can't necessarily call it safer, but it's safer in some ways and not in others, I guess. Each strat has its positives and its negatives, but has a really nice fight as well. Gets an extra attack from the Trinex head, but really not a big deal.
Yeah, the backdoor strat is... The beginning of the fight is very important, and you have to execute the very beginning to make sure you can get through the fight quickly. But with the front door strat, it's much easier to set up. It's not as tight, but more can go wrong because you will be taking more time to kill the heads.
Yes, well said. Nicky cleaning up the Vitreous fight here. 8 arrows into the giant eye. 8 arrows. Please don't press the mirror. Okay. We've definitely seen
that scared me too.
At least once in this tournament, if not twice already, of people changing to the mirror early and thinking that, oh, Vitreous just needs another arrow, so I'll just fire another arrow. Let me press the Y button. Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate when that happens.
Alright, so chat has done the math. They've calculated a 26-second difference in between our races here at the top. Ooh, Auth displaying some sick knowledge of the hot new tech for opening Ganon's tower, saving about 20 lag frames there by being at least a pixel off of the bottom of the tower, and also canceling his dash into it so that his sword isn't held out. Nicely done. Oh, and the sword climb too.
And the sword climb to boot.
Definitely one of the best G Tower entrances we've seen this entire tournament. I can say with confidence.
Right. And Screevo also didn't manipulate the fairies properly in this prize pack, so we'll see where he's at. He has taken a few deaths, so okay, he's at the red rupee like Jet was, so he probably won't be able to rely on that. It could come potentially back up later. Also controlled by the chomps there, but yeah, that fairy could potentially come back up later. But
Nicky with the Waffle House drive-through. Let's go. Nicely done. That looks so cool when you can actually get through there. Sometimes you can get bad RNG, as we saw with Screevo, but when you get it clean, it is just oh so good.
Screevo picking up the 5 arrows there. Don't think he needed it, but
yeah, gonna be extra safe for G Tower, I guess. And speaking of G Tower, that's where both of our racers are now in. Definitely, without question, the most intense dungeon in terms of execution.
Oh, these dead rocks. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, you actually can get through there. But yeah, each of these rooms, it's just the game doesn't let up at all. You have to execute very well in every single one of these rooms, or you will lose time or health or both. So definitely a pleasure to watch when it is well executed. But you'll see like little gains and also losses here and there, probably from both of these runners, because it can be so easy to just lose time in any single one of these rooms.
Ooh, coming awkwardly close to the Armos there, but cleans up the fight. That Jet is entering right now, and
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, unfortunate for Jet being on top of that anti-fairy as he falls there, continuously getting hit by it. Now this is a pretty stressful point in the run, because once you get past Armos, you just have to make your way up to Aghanim 2, and any death that you unfortunately experience will cause you to reset everything that you've gone through up to that point going up the tower. So this is a big possibility of time loss going up this tower here.
Oth apparently is using the strat where you fan the mimics in order to get them into position with his sword, but seemed very effective, and he got through 2 of the most difficult rooms in the game. Let's see if Jet picks up the small magic pot here. Nice, very good heads up. Knowledge there to pick that up, realizing that he had gotten hit by that anti-fairy and was going to need a little bit more magic after he gets through Gauntlet for the Landmo refight.
Oth walking his way through the cannonball room here.
Okay, I feel like we missed something on the bottom here. What happened to Screevo? Did he...
I'm assuming he took a death at some point, as Nicky just did too.
He only has 3 hearts though, so I feel like he maybe ran out of magic on Trinex?
Oh, it's definitely possible he ran out of magic.
Oh, and Nicky has the fairy. Okay, so they're actually going to be in the same room now. Ow. But Nicky does have to go through the rest of the dungeon here, whereas Screevo can bypass part of it to finish it off. But on the top here, both these runners are in the Gauntlet now. Oth is just exiting the Gauntlet, going to be heading into the Landmo refight, whereas Jet is in the 3rd room of the Gauntlet. Nice bonk there, and dash to double kill both of those horse heads there.
2 short hops for authorblues. Really unfortunate RNG coming out from this Landmo fight. It's going to end up being a 3 cycle for him, and pretty much entirely due to RNG, because he wasn't able to get any damage on 2 of them after the first cycle.
Jet also very smartly in Gauntlet 5 did not use any additional magic, so he should be at a reasonable amount to actually finish this fight. He got really bad Landmo RNG as well, man.
Yeah. There's too much going on, guys!
That was a really nice cleanup, though, on that fight to get a 2 cycle out of it. authorblues cleaning up the last Wizard room here. Going to be going through the Fusda Bridge now onto the first Torch room here. The Torch room, actually, I think is one of the rooms that makes me the most nervous in G-Tower.
Yeah, if you run out of magic here, it's a big time loss. The only thing you can do is mirror out, because there's not really anywhere close where there is magic. So, if you don't execute well,
Off his Screevo.
Alright, Screevo's through the dark maze now. We got Nicky trying to clean up Pokies 2. Getting the powder out, getting that fairy. And it looks like something happened to Screevo on Laser Skip, because he hadn't gotten the laser bridge key yet, or whatever that's supposed to be.
I think what happened was that he actually had ran out of magic and didn't have enough for the platform maze, and had to mirror out and go farm. So, okay, Oth is on the Moldorm 2 refight now. He's almost to the Aghanim 2 fight. Jet is just behind him. Just right behind.
Almost launched himself off of the platform, but was able to keep himself on.
Yeah, our apologies if we do miss any of the action. It can be kind of tough to follow everything going on, especially when all these races are so close at the same time. So
yeah, there's just a lot going on. A lot going on.
getting a little bit bounced around here in the Helma hallway, but is able to recover and make it through there. Going to be heading into the refight now, where he's going to have some clones of Agatu to deal with.
This could be a tough fight to do really quickly, and this is a point where Jet can make up a lot of time. It doesn't look like either of these runners will die, but I mean, it's still possible. Jet's pretty low, and Screevo finishes up the Trinex fight there. Nicky just getting past the laser skip, heading into Trinex very soon.
Ooh, these patterns can be really rough to deal with. I think Auth is missing a little bit of damage on a few of these cycles here. I'm not sure how many hits he has on Agatu at this point, but Jet can definitely make up a little bit of time if he has a better fight or gets some better patterns to deal with. Oh, Auth really having a rough time with these patterns. Jet as well. Both these guys are not getting very good lineups.
Oh, and he gets the blue ball off on
this fight.
Pretty solid pattern.
Does not get any easier as it goes on as well, because oh my gosh, they are so close now.
They're
Jet
within seconds of each other now going into Ganon.
Jet made up so much time on that fight. He does have 3 hearts though, whereas Auth has a very healthy amount. So Jet's going to have to be very careful on this Ganon fight coming up. Cannot really get hit by anything within the first few phases. So, man, let's sit back and enjoy this race here.
Yeah, let's just do a quick recap here. Screevo just finished up Trinex cleanly. He's getting into Ganon's tower now as Jet and Auth are going into Ganon, and Nicky is trying to finish up Trinex as well. So we'll see how many cycles it takes both Auth and Jet. It takes 12 slashes of the sword each. A spin is 2 sword slashes worth.
No trident spin for Jet.
And no trident spin for Jet, so he's going to get a second cycle of this first phase. Whereas authorblues looks like he got the 1-in-1 pretty cleanly. He's just got to dodge the fire bats. Very nice movement there for dodging the fire bats. Getting a few warps, which is unfortunate.
Nice hooks from Jet too.
Yeah, another point of RNG that you can't control is the amount of extra warps Ganon gives you. And oh, man, it looks like Ganon just doesn't feel like staying put in Auth's fight. Jet just has only 3 hearts, so anything will kill him. It looks like he's trying to stay safe. He's made his way to the 3rd phase now.
Yeah, I ended up taking a few more cycles, a few more warps for Ganon to get out of that 2nd phase for Jet. So that's why he's a little bit behind right now, but anything can still happen in this 4th phase here. 4th phase takes a lot of really precise execution to get as many spins in on Ganon as possible for each torch lighting.
Auth making me nervous with his positioning there, but he does get the torch glitch, and it looks like Jet's going to get the torch glitch too, so they're both into phase 4 right now. At the same time, Auth is a few hits in. You need 12 spins here total. The timing can be pretty difficult depending on when you lit the torch to make sure you get into a nice 3-hit groove with each phase of the torch glitch.
Is Jet going to change to the fire rod, or is he going to stick with lamp here?
He might be sticking with the lamp here just to be safe.
Yeah, he can take 1 hit from a fire bat and still be alive.
Oh no, Auth missed the fire rod, and then he gets blued, or then he blues Ganon, which is going to lose him some time. So this, I'm not keeping track of how many hits each of these guys has, so this is still anybody's race right here.
Oh my gosh.
With these mistakes coming out.
If Jet is able to get a few more triples from these lightings, could definitely make a few hits on Auth.
Oh my goodness, more mistakes from Auth getting hit by that bat.
If he misses any of these ones.
I don't know where we are in this fight right now, so we really just have to wait and see who gets the last. And it's gonna be Jet! Oh my god! Later, authorblues!
Oh my god!
I cannot believe how close this race was.
Alright, we have to check the official race time here to see the dot dones. Finishing 1 second apart, an official SRTV time of 1:33.12. Jet082 is going to take the win over authorblues. It looks like the timers on the screen don't reflect those same results. So, interesting case here. I'm not sure.
We're going to have to watch the VODs back and make sure that, because, I mean, a lot of mistakes going on. It was very, both runners knew that the other hadn't, done yet. So, man, that was probably really nerve-wracking for the both of them, thinking, I'm making a lot of mistakes, but the other person hasn't done yet, so could be a mistake not done, could be a mistake splitting. So
yeah,
we'll
I think
verify that.
According to Runner Watcher, who I think we can trust to watch the runs, Jet just split a little bit late So that may be why his timer is showing just a second apart. But according to SRTV, Jet is going to take the win for this race. So GG, what a finish. Holy crap, that was amazing.
I don't think you can honestly get a race closer than that. They were probably within 30 seconds of each other the entire time and then finished 1 second apart. All right, so now that the excitement there is finished, we will try to get them in here for interviews. But we do have another race going on. We have Screevo and Nicky both in Ganon's Tower now. Screevo is in the 4th room of the gauntlet while Nicky is fighting the Arch Armos. Man, I wasn't even racing and my heart is pounding right now.
Yeah, and so the difference in that fight, I think, was almost entirely due to some of those missed spins, and also the warps were really unfriendly to Oth there, but you saw that he accidentally froze Ganon in one of those attempts, and he ended up only being able to get 1 hit in during that phase, whereas Jet was just nailing triples on his side. So, man, that was sick.
Yeah, getting a rhythm in that fight is definitely important. And Screevo actually just showed us a 1-cycle Landmo 2, the first of the runners to actually be able to pull that off and get the RNG necessary to do that. So Nicky now is collecting the red tunic. This is going to cause less damage to be taken as the trek up the tower continues.
It looks like we are now currently joined by authorblues. My dude, what a race. GG. That was a heck of a finish, man.
You know, I told myself when I did bird carry that was probably going to make the difference. And
you think it did?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying it was faster to do the bird carry, but I am saying that it was a choice that I made consciously.
Yeah, and I definitely don't think it had anything to do with the 4-character file name as well. I'm pretty sure that gave you additional power throughout the rest of the run to execute as well as you did.
It strengthens me. It really does. It strengthens me.
Wow, did you have any idea how close that was? Were you paying attention to chat? Were you watching the restream at all?
Yeah, I had the restream up. I did not look at it after I left the gauntlet, though. So I mean, I felt pretty good about it until the 9-cycle Aga 2. That one didn't feel too great, or the 12 Ganon warps, but the bird toss is really what I keep going back to, or bird carry.
Yeah, I know it looked so good at the time, though. You know, I definitely felt the good vibes coming off of your run after that point. So it was definitely pulling for you. But you guys put on a heck of a show, regardless of how the runs themselves went. So GG on that remark.
I'm glad to have been part of such a close race. I wish maybe 2 seconds faster, but you know, we're good.
Ooh, Screevo just missing the triple there on the Aga 2 fight. Yeah, both of you guys ended up getting, I think, some of the worst patterns I saw on Aga 2, and that fight can just be really rough to deal with. So I definitely feel that pain of the extended Aga 2 fight.
Well, here we are.
All right, let's see if we can pull Jet in here for an interview as well. Jet, GG, congrats on the win. That was a heck of a race.
Hey, GG's.
You know, great race, man.
Oh my gosh.
There was so much back and forth.
Ridiculous of an end.
You died to blind, or in Thieves, right?
Yeah, I died. I took a lot of damage on the hallway, just bad enemies movement that blocked me, and then it was actually while I was coming down in the room with the corner blue pegs that, you know, after you bomb the floor and you come downstairs walking to the right, I died there because the horse head fired really fast, and I wasn't expecting it. So I got greedy. I should have waited it out.
Yeah, my only really significant mistake, like the only big one, was I got wall mastered in the last mummy key room in Skull Woods. But other than that, I mean, it was a pretty decent playthrough up until the 9-cycle Aga 2.
Oh, Aga 2. My Aga 2 was so bad too. I don't know how many it was. I lost count, but it was also pretty slow.
It was a number, that is for sure.
It was.
How many? How bad were your Ganon warps? That's. I mean, I think.
Ganon was nice.
I can't imagine you had more Ganon warps than I did.
Yeah. No, Ganon was actually polite. I mean, I got 4 blue balls. How many blue balls did you have?
Oh, I only got 2. It was not too bad.
Okay, yeah. Ganon was surprisingly polite. Couple wars, but yeah, it wasn't too bad. And that, I guess, was the catch-up right there.
Yeah, I had a particularly strong Palace of Darkness, Ice Palace, and I gold-splitted Turtle Rock. So, like, my dungeons were going well. I was just making a lot of bigger, dumber errors.
Okay. Yeah, I have a couple of gold splits, but just those deaths were, like, on my mind the whole time. I'm like, you know, this is a race. This is an official tournament race, and I'm just screwing it up. But honestly, the chain chomps affected me more, because Thieves, it's like I was recovering a little bit, had a couple of gold splits after that. I'm like, I'm okay. I can deal with this. But then the chain chomps just being complete jerks.
Was that that wasn't a PB for you? Your PB on speedrun.com is like a 133 something.
I submitted a PB yesterday at a 131. Like 131.54, I think.
Wow. So the 2 and 3 seed in this group was actually not too far off from each other, because I only recently PB'd a 130, so...
Yeah, you guys were just a little over a minute apart in PBs itself, and, you know, obviously that really was put on display here for this race. Just wanted to mention Screevo finishing up, going to be winning his race as well, has an official SRTB time of 1 hour, 40 minutes, and 47 seconds, so... I'm sure he will be popping in here soon for a post-race interview as well. Meanwhile, Nicky is going to be falling into the Ganon fight here.
Well, nonetheless, good race. I would be lying if I said I wish it didn't go the other way, but that was glad to have been a part of the 1 second differential in this tournament.
Yeah, GG, man. That was a... it probably
that
turned out to be a really nice race for the viewers.
That was a really tense waiting to hit the done button on speedrun.
Oh, absolutely. I expected you to do it so much, and I'm like, man, it's just gonna come in while I'm fighting Ganon, and it's not going. I'm like, what? What's happening?
I know. I was staring at it. I was like, okay, it hasn't happened yet, and I'm soared up. Like, there's no way. Like, I'm in there, and then right as I'm hitting the button, I see your name pop up.
Oh my gosh!
Say it again.
Hi.
And we are now joined by Screevo and family. Welcome, sir. GG, and congrats on the win.
Don't lie. That you can skip the first G.
All right, well, congrats on the win, dude.
Yeah.
All right, well, game and congratulations.
I have
World record holder Screevo SRL over here.
that.
Hi.
Okay, hi once is good. A lot of things occurred.
Yeah, you can say that about almost everyone's run in this race. There was so much going on. It was actually very difficult to keep track of absolutely everything that was happening. So, yeah, feel free to run us down some of the highlights of your run, if you would.
Well, I decided that the Red Igor and ZGR needed a hug. Then I decided that Moldorm needed a hug. And then I decided that I am just so gosh darn good looking that hammer jump was the appropriate time to check myself out in the mirror.
Screevo, you so vain.
I just want to
probably think the speedrun is about you.
It seems like Nicky is on huge PB pace right now.
Yeah, that was kind of throwing me.
Like, very good point. Just finishing up Ganon here, that is going to be
a 17-minute PB
for Nicky.
But we need to get to my favorite part of the run. And I think it was your favorite part of the run, and that would be the shovel dash.
That was extremely unexpected, yes. I kind of thought that you just accidentally did it for some reason, but was that intentional?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, why would I menu to the shovel?
Well, I mean...
And then why would I hit 2 buttons? Yeah,
GG to Nikki, and congrats on what I assume to be a PB. Looks like we are joined by her right now, so congratulations.
Thanks.
And I think it was that as big? And that would be the
a small
shovel
PB of 36 seconds.
That was
30
extremely
seconds late
unexpected,
again.
yes.
But, yeah.
I kind of thought that you just accidentally did
Great
it.
run.
Every split could have been good
Oh, yeah,
in the dark world
absolutely.
if I
I mean,
had
why would I
light
menu
almost
to the shovel?
everywhere.
Well, I
And
mean,
then why would I hit 2 buttons?
But yes,
Yeah.
the
Oh, no, that was
PB
GG to
is...
Nikki, and congrats
All
on
I
what
was
I
looking for.
assume to be
How big of a
Looks like
PB
we
was
are
it?
joined by her right now, so
36
congratulations.
Oh, okay. So I thought your PB was still like up around 2 hours.
Yeah, we had that last race, and last race I PB'd by 4 minutes to the current 144. Oh, beforehand 144.40.
Oh, wow. So you were just on a roll, huh?
Well, I kind of feel almost burned out a bit, so I never run. I just do a bit of practice, and when these runs happen, which feel like a lot of things go wrong, and I still manage to pull a PB.
Yeah, that's a good feeling for sure.
A lot of things went wrong for everyone.
Oh yeah, I mean, seeing Screevo's time now, if I hadn't died and a bit more practice, it could have been close, but at the same time I know that
Yeah.
Yeah.
that should not happen.
No, you're right.
No,
What
What
happened?
happened?
What happened to me should not happen. Yes. What?
Yeah, so Screevo, I mean, that is going to bring your group's record to 3-0, but I gotta ask, how confident are you going into the bracket stage, given your performance here?
I will. I'm fairly confident that I will be within 90 seconds of PB on my bracket races. My approach to these was not nearly as thorough as it should have been.
All right, understandable.
But no, the chain of events that happened here today is kind of, I mean, actually, I should have known it would happen because every time I race lowercase a authorblues, and I'm going to blame him for this, and I hope that he's still listening. Every time I race you, sir, something like this happens. And
Something like this.
Something
I hope
like
we meet
this.
up in brackets. If I can say that.
Me too.
Well, at least you grabbed the
Man, I
Meyer
got owned.
this time.
Oh, not only did I grab it, but I poked the chest to make sure that it was clear that I was grabbing it.
I'm gonna call my shot right here. Waffle's gonna have to really do some damage for me to make it into brackets. Jeez.
Yeah, this kind of makes the scenario a little bit interesting now. So off, this puts your record at 1-1, correct?
Yeah.
And then Jet's going to be at 1-1 as well. And I think Waffle's only done one of his races so far. So yeah, this group could shake out a number of ways. So that'll be one to keep an eye on for sure.
Has Jet played Waffle yet? Is that the one
Yes.
that played her?
I was the one who played Waffle.
Oh, okay. Well,
He
congratulations on
destroyed
getting to the
me.
bracket stage.
Well, I have one more race to go.
All right, I believe in you. I'm rooting for you.
I think.
But I think that puts me and JC into the brackets.
Yes, I do believe that is correct. With that win, that should
Yeah.
shore up your group. So congratulations to both of you guys for moving on to the bracket stage. You get to play this game even more.
Woohoo!
But I highly encourage you guys, I'm sure most of you will, but do go back and watch this race. It was a nice one through and through.
My wife and son were actually watching it on the big screen from the couch, so I had it out of the corner of my eye the whole time. But and I could tell that it was back and forth on top. and
Were they
a
rooting for
total
you?
train wreck in the bottom left.
I hope they were rooting for you.
Yeah, who was your family rooting for, Screevo?
My
Probably the one with the
red
coolest name,
numbers-
right?
The red numbers under my name had my son thoroughly distressed the entire time.
But you didn't care, right?
Oh, well, I mean,
You're used to seeing those anyway.
why do you hurt me?
Why do you wound me? All right, well, I believe that is going to do it for us for right now. However, we do have plenty of action coming up for you right here on Speed Gaming 2. We have another quad coming up right after this. I'm going to read off the participants to you right now. We got Takaze versus Mutski and Arafram versus Rezi. Will be a very fun race to watch, so do stick around. There's always plenty happening on the Speed Gaming Network, so if you enjoyed this show, do give them a follow. Our thanks to all of our runners for putting on such a fantastic show. Easily one of the best races of the tournament so far. And thank you all for joining us here for the interview. Thank you for joining us.
Say bye.
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 Thank you guys for commentating and putting this together.
Fun race. Thanks for talking words.
Words were definitely said by myself and also my co-commentator, Dude Brosick. Thank you for joining me as well.
No problem. Words are something that I'm okay at, using sometimes, and it was a pleasure doing some commentary with you, sir.
I just hope you took the words downtown.
Always taking it.
I'll let you be the judge of that, but yep, that's going to do it for us. Thank you all for watching. Please stick around for more NMG races, and have a wonderful day.